Zac Efron. We have been on his train since 2006, since High School Musical. It's great that we finally are vindicated with our Zac Efron take, right? A little bit that he has it in him. Might not lead to a Golden Globe nom, might not lead to an Oscar nom, but he has it in him. And A24 provides him that opportunity. And that leads right into the checkup this week with another A24 film that you teased with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's going to be starring in a film directed by, you would have never guessed it, Benny Safdie, common A24 auteur. The film is going to be a drama that follows MMA fighter Mark Kerr during his peak era in the UFC as he struggles with addiction, winning, and love. Ricky Flicks, we got to start off with The Rock here, right? Benny Safdie is another interesting aspect of this story. But what do you think about The Rock teaming up with A24 and steering more towards the dramatic realm?
Definitely, this is just like we were talking about, similar to Zac Efron. He's a movie star, arguably the biggest movie star on the planet, and he's gonna try to do some serious acting like he tried to do in the beginning, post Attitude Era WWE, Gridiron Gang and whatnot, but on a critical scale, higher drama scale, So seems like another good fit, similar to Efron, the bot, like obviously Zac Efron, and wrestling here. The Rock literally was a wrestler, football player, WWE superstar. Now he's going more the UFC, MMA, and playing a former heavyweight UFC champion in the early days of the UFC, late 90s and early to mid 2000s. And this seems like it's going to be that similar fit. Now, for me, I did not, like, I saw the headline, right? But then I saw he's playing Mark Kerr, who I've never heard of. I'm not a big UFC guy, or I watch UFC night, like fight nights, but in the 2000s, definitely not. So I had no idea who this is. Okay. But it's a real person. And I was shocked by that because The Rock, who already has a TV show on NBC and will most likely get a movie, if not multiple one day, I don't know. Like, I'm going to look at this character like The Rock. I don't know if I'm going to be able to look past it. It's going to be really difficult to. So, yes, exciting stuff. The Rock actually going to try to act and not just be a movie star. Again, trying to be like Vinny Chase. He's a movie star, but can he actually act? We'll see. But I don't know, even if he's good in this, if I'll be able to look past, like, it's the frickin' Rock.
I agree, Ricky Flex. I looked at the picture of Mark Kerr. I don't know anything about his story. The Rock can play this dude easily. He has a mother, I believe, that was Puerto Rican, and his father is Irish. They talked about the substance abuse issues. I think this is going to be something that we're seeing from The Rock, who is such a clean body, right? Someone who lives like like he is the model in terms of fitness and diet. And now we're going to see him kind of take a left turn here. And he's making a turn towards the drama where you traditionally wouldn't see at a person at the late stages of his career. Like The Rock's been in entertainment since the mid 90s, and him going in 2023, 2024 now as a dramatic turn with a potentially heartbreaking or tragic story. Mark Kerr is not dead, so we don't know how this story will end. Okay, I think that's important to note here. But I think this actually, despite it being an atypical time for a blockbuster action star to go to the dramatic realm, I think it actually lines up pretty well. Like, he just lost Black Adam, right? He lost like what he anticipated a blockbuster role that he'd be playing for years to come. And once that's out the window, right, it's really hard to shoulder a franchise that that has no superhero like commercial ability to it, you know? So I think him in an A24 film, I think this lines up perfectly. And if he's going to do something dramatic, it's going to be like like a not like a wrestling type of role. Like it's the easiest transition he could do for an A24 film. And him with Benny Safdie is pretty interesting too.
That's what I was going to bring up here. Benny Safdie's directing, right? And out of the Saft, it's actually funny because today, December 13th, 4-year anniversary of Uncut Gems, when this news got released. But it's interesting Benny Safdie's directing, not Josh Safdie, because there was news that we've reported here on the checkup that, yeah, they're not directing necessarily to get every film together anymore. And a part of that is because Benny Safdie wants to be in more Hollywood movies. We saw him recently in Oppenheimer. He's in The Curse.
Dear God, it's
God,
me, Margaret.
thank you. He was in 3 movies this year, or 3 movies and shows. Like, that's a big reason why they're not directing. The brothers aren't directing together anymore. Like, the last thing that they directed together was Uncut Gems 2019. So the fact that Betty Safdie is directing this and not Josh Safdie, and it's only one of them, is so interesting to me. Like, right? Like, I see you like looking up in the sky. Like, am I crazy here?
No, not crazy. I just think it lines up that Benny Safdie is the one directing this. He's the movie star. This is the flashy director role as well, where you are going
Mm,
to try and turn The Rock into a dramatic actor for an A24 film. Right? It seems like something that the movie star would want to take on, who's also a director, right? It's going to get a lot of appeal, obviously. This could easily be like A24's highest grossing film of all time once it hits the box office. And this goes into what we're going to talk about with Civil War, the higher budgets for A24 films, like The Rock starring in an indie project, quote unquote indie with A24 at this point. That's fascinating. And it's just the choice from The Rock. I think you really couldn't have picked a more opportune time when you look at the future or the prospects of his career. I'm all in. I don't know if it's going to be good, right? But you once again, like Zac Efron's another guy. Like think Baywatch, where it's like he was in a movie with The Rock. He was known for those type of roles, and then he goes to the Iron Claw, and then he gains this or garners this critical acclaim.
but
I'm not opposed to The Rock like being received really well for this movie just because it lines up perfectly for him.
okay, you mentioned something right there with the Efron aspect and Baywatch. Do you know what this thought? Like, I thought of right off the bat when I saw The
Kevin
Rock
James.
and Benny Safdie. No,
Kevin
it,
James. What's that one where he's a teacher and
Here
then
Comes the Boom.
here comes the boom?
That movie's awful.
Uh, go ahead.
No, it was Robert Pattinson.
Wow. Whoa.
Because, dude, think
Whoa.
about it. Twilight trilogy, whatever. And then, oh, look, 2017 comes around, Good Time with the Safdies. Like, I'm not, again, when I say that, I'm not saying The Rock is going to be Robert Pattinson. What I'm saying is Robert Pattinson, we forget, was on such a low. Like, nobody wanted to touch this
The
guy.
Rock ain't on a low though. He just lost like
Right,
a
right. No, but
super bankable superhero role.
Right, right. But what I'm saying is, like, no one believes that this guy, Mr. Jungle Cruise, Mr. Baywatch, Mr. Jumanji, they are not Mr. Central Intelligence. This guy is not gonna like be in an A24 film with an acclaimed director right now, currently in 2023, and put on a freaking shift and a half. No,
He's
like,
anti A24.
yeah, and out of nowhere he's doing this, similar to Robert Pattinson, who was in Harry Potter for one, and then he was in Twilight, and everyone was making fun of Twilight, and he was the freaking face of that with Taylor Lautner. Like, no one saw that coming. That's all I'm saying. And he's, again, the Safdie connection here, the A24 connection here. That's all I'm saying. Little connection.
And this is more it's interesting because I think at the time Good Time was released with the Safdies, pretty unknown. Robert Pattinson, right, kind of forgotten. Like A24, it's not as much of a risk for them to make Good Time as it is to have The Rock at the center of a biopic for them. That's so weird to say. I think this is more of a risk because like A24 has a level of
Reputation.
yeah, it's got a level of success where it's like you don't want to screw that up. And like The Rock being a part of this independent studio could cost them a little bit potentially, or it pays off. Like this is a bold choice. This is bold. This is something where it's like, hey, we can do this. Like The Rock has never said yes to one of these projects in the last 15, 20 years. We're going to be the ones that are going to be able to pull it off. So that's like A24 also in a different way, trying to do something different, bolder than what they're typically known for.
Okay, my last thing on this. I love what you're saying here, but it goes back to the box office, right? I just pulled up the A24 top, all their movies, top box office. All right. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm not even going to do a trivia. That's an obvious. That's their top box office worldwide at $111 million. Okay. Does this beat that
This
worldwide?
I think this becomes the highest grossing A24 movie ever. Yes.
I think it has a chance. It's not IP, but it's The Rock. And Black Adam, a superhero movie with The Rock, did not make that much money. So that makes me a little nervous, right? Black Adam, I'll have to quickly look that up. But that makes me a little nervous. But I feel like this is going to be better than Black Adam by a lot. So I think it has a chance to beat this.
Because Everything Everywhere All at Once, like you mentioned, is the ultimate word of mouth movie, right?
Oh,
Over $100 million at the box office. I think The Rock is one of the few people that can carry a movie to $100 million no matter the genre. I think he can do it, right? He's that big of a name. You know, all the notoriety he has in social media, how likable of a star he is. People want him to run for goddamn president. And now he's starring an A24 movie. Like The Rock, even if this was a mediocre movie, it's hitting $50 million,
yeah.
you know?
So Black
And
Adam
go ahead.
made close to 400 million worldwide, 225 internationally. So like still different. But opening weekend was what I was thinking of, which sucked, which is just over 60 million. But I still think he could drive $100 million just on himself.
Exactly. That's what I agree too. And imagine with this release, if it is November, December, do they have high aspirations here? You got Oscar nominees with the Safdie
Golden
brothers, I
Globes.
believe, right? Safdie, like Benny, has been nominated for a good time in some capacity. Is that true? Oscars?
Uh, Not for an Oscar.
Ah, okay. Because I remember it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, and Adam Sandler didn't get a nomination for Best Actor. I thought they might have gotten nominated in another category there. Uh, but at least a heralded like young director like Benny Safdie. The Safdie brothers are
Yeah.
household names at this point. That combination there, like, and that's another dynamic. It's just Safdie and A24 also combining again. That drives maybe another 10, $15 million at the box office. Add The Rock, that's 75 automatically. Like this is going to be I think it's going to be the most financially successful A24 film. And that is kind of driving towards this new age of A24, where they're automatic Oscar contenders with the majority of movies they release, but also with them funding more action oriented films, some franchises that are going to start coming about. I think this is just going in that direction. When I saw the trailer for Civil War and I saw how much action was in that, it's like a true action movie more so than a political thriller. Like A24 is kind of evolving at this point, and we already knew they weren't technically an independent studio anymore. I think this is like a sign when you were signing The Rock that they are the real deal.